now that I've decided.
Now that you've decided.
And I'm going. And I've done some due diligence to already step into the next phase of this move. Now I have some setbacks. And what do they look like? And for me, one was the buyer backed out last minute. And I was like, great. Now I already had an apartment here in Hollywood. Didn't move in yet, but I had it already secured. Already had work.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, now what? But in that, I literally felt like in those times and seasons that God gives us some wisdom and some strategies, you know, when you're just like up against a wall or pinned in a corner. And I'm like, I guess I sometimes go, do I always have to be pinned in a corner to get a brilliant strategy? Well, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I think sometimes when we're pinned in a corner, I guess I would say this to the artists, when you're pinned in a corner, the greatest things come out of it, really. And in that, I had another manager, and I literally was like, sat down with her. I said, hey, do you want to buy this salon? This other person backed out. She's like, I don't have the money. I said, I'm going to finance you. And then I wrote on basically a piece of paper, here's what we're going to do. Wrote it out, shook our hands, and that's what happened. She paid every dime. She was on time. I said, you know, if you default, I get it back. And I said, but I don't want to back her up. And I'm here on a telephone call to always come and actually help you as much as I can for your success. Boom, that happened. She bought it, and I was like, sheesh.
So the only emotion that you remember really feeling was frustration. And your answer for that frustration was God, because you said,
yeah.
I mean, there was nothing else that you did in terms of like being able to like keep going through the frustration.
Yeah, I kind of think you get to a point where you're like, I can't look back. I can't go back.
Because you had already made the decision.
Yeah.
You hadn't even left yet.
Now again, right. And again, I do think, if I'm thinking back, I'm sure I was questioning still. Did I make the right decision? You know, I think that's any decision we make, that we're like some opposition come up, or even a thought comes up, and you're like, am I making the right decision? I think that's a good question to have, because we have some time to make a way of escape, you know, if we need to. Because I think that's good to question it at some level. Not over, which I tend to do, honestly. But I think for me, I was already going, and I was like, you're going. Do not look back. And because of that, why I shared about drive-by, like I have crazy stories. I have way more stories. But the drive-by shooting at my house, I think that was like, you are not looking back. You are not staying here. You are not. And I have been here ever since.
Yeah.
And some days I wonder still. I think we do that. We kind of go, did I make the right decision even when we're in the midst of what you chose, right? But that's, you know, a whole other narrative. We don't need to go there.
Yeah. And I can relate. I mean, I still occasionally would do that about certain things too.
Yeah.
It's like a decision that I made, you know, 10 years ago. And it's like, should I have done that? It's like, it does, at this point, 10 years have gone by.
Right.
So it doesn't even really matter.
And I think the only use for those kind of thought processes is it going to benefit somebody else. If I tell them, hey, you know what, here's what I did. Here's where I think.
Here's where I may have done something differently,
right.
or
And
made a
now
different
that
choice.
I have, now that I'm through that, this is maybe a better way to navigate that. Or here's the questions I would ask. I think that's where it benefits. Outside of that, we've already moved on from it.
Yeah.
Right.
And even then, you never know, because everyone's situation
It's different.
is different.
Yep.
So you and I could make the exact same choice and have different results.
Exactly. It's true. It's true. Thoughts to ponder.
Thoughts to ponder. Thoughts to ponder.